Okay, we'll start with this. Garcia Shields took to her social media and stated, "We've got GWOAT action. July 26th in Detroit, defending my world titles against light heavyweight champion Lonnie Daniels of New Zealand. Tickets will be available on Friday at Ticketmaster."
So what do we need to know about Lonnie Daniels?
Lonnie Daniels sports a professional record of 11 wins with 2 losses, 2 draws, 1 knockout, having never been knocked out in 15 professional bouts. The current reigning IBF light heavyweight champion, 37 years old, 2 inches shorter than Clarissa Shields and 7 years older.
Less experienced on the world stage than Clarissa Shields, though I don't know that losing to Clarissa at heavyweight would negatively affect Lonnie's status as a champion at light heavyweight.
Last in action in September of last year, opposite the ring Bolatito Oluwole, then unbeaten, who Lonnie beat by way of a unanimous decision. It's the only fight she had the entirety of last year. And this will be her first fight of this one, set to go down in late July, the same month as the Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano trilogy. The trilogy where Clarissa was offered a spot in.
A co-main event slot that Clarissa rejected because she feels that she's too good to fight on Amanda and Katie's undercard. She could have had this same fight on that show and likely made more money than she's about to make.
The way it happened, Clarissa was offered a shot at Jadeja Green on that undercard, and she turned it down. That could mean that Clarissa, now that she's moved all the way up to heavyweight, is finding it difficult to go back down.
But because there are no big fights to be made at either light heavyweight or heavyweight, perhaps she needs to, as I'd wager more people are familiar with Jadeja Green than they're familiar with Lonnie Daniels. I think the boxing fans in this part of the world don't have the foggiest idea who that woman is.
Whereas at least a small cluster of them will be familiar with Jadeja Green, her fight with Franchon Cruz, her affiliation, 2 most valuable promotions. I don't think Clarissa is ducking Jadeja, because if they fought, I'd pick Clarissa to win that fight. I think, given the time allotted to make the weight, Clarissa likely couldn't boil down to 168 by July in tandem with her pride, that her pride would never let her box on Amanda and Katie's undercard. It was never going to happen.
Not just because of the money that she could have made for boxing on that show, but missing out on future opportunities by making enemies that you don't need to.
There's no real reason and no good reason for her to be at odds with Jake Paul other than she feels entitled and she feels that she can bully him.
That he and the rest of the boxing community at large are supposed to grovel at her feet.
So when it doesn't happen, she can cry about either misogyny or racism, that everybody's against her, when in reality, she's the one that's against everybody. That's a choice that she's making. Let's not even pretend that she's gonna make in Detroit what Katie and Amanda are about to make in New York.
Or that her fight that same month has anywhere near the same profile and reach as Katie and Amanda's fight. We know it doesn't.
She's the one that created the environment where she is at odds with them, attempting to diminish the viewing figures for what was their second fight because they weren't in the main event. Well, now they are, and you're fighting the same month as them. Who do you think is going to bring in more viewing figures? You or them?
Who do you think is making more?
Her ignorant rabble of fans may want to argue with every Tom, Dick, and Harry online about it, but I guarantee you, a lot of those people won't be there. They won't be there to support her.
Useless.
So now she's fighting Lonnie Daniels, and this is about as good a fight as you could hope to make, at these weights. But what does that say about these
The
weights?
same song and dance all over again.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing in the men's lightweight division, Tevin Farmer has recently come out saying that Golden Boy Promotions offered him a fight with unbeaten Floyd Schofield on the heels of Tevin's 2 losses to William Zepeda, 2 losses consecutively.
3 overall, as he lost to Raymond Muratalla right before that.
Fighting a fighter coming off of 3 consecutive losses is not the kind of damage control, not the kind of optics that Floyd Schofield needs right now on the heels of ducking Shakur Stevenson with that supposed ailment that only lasted long enough for him to pull out of that fight, then be right back in the gym on Monday. And the only reason we know that is because of his talkative father, who let the cat out of the bag that whatever he was suffering from, it must have only lasted 2 or 3 days, because he was right back in the gym the following Monday.
I like Tevin Farmer, and I'll go as far as saying that I think he can be a decent enough acid test for Floyd Schofield. He is formidable, experienced.
And he used to be a champion, but for a guy who's pulled out of fights with both Ashton Silva, now Shakur Stevenson, fighting a guy who's coming off of 3 consecutive losses is not a good look. And I could have swore that 2 or 3 weeks ago, I heard rumors of a Floyd Schofield versus Lucas Body fight. Lucas Body of Canada, the guy who knocked out Ashton Silva in what was a knockout of the year candidate last year.
Remember that Floyd pulled out of the fight with Ashton. Lucas stood in his place, and Lucas knocked out Ashton.
So there is a precedent there for Floyd Schofield to face him next and not Tevin Farmer. I mean, I like Tevin Farmer, but what are you guys trying to do? Kill the guy? From Muratalla to Zepeda to then Floyd Schofield? There is very little merit in Floyd facing him after that sequence of fights.
Tevin seems up for it. He seems to want it, but
I happen to think this guy needs a rebound fight. Golden Boy Promotions should get him a spot on one of their undercards. Nothing too serious, nothing too heavy. Let him at least get back in the winner's bracket before you feed him to Floyd Schofield, because we all know that's what you're doing.
it's not a bad fight. I do think there's valuable experience to be derived from facing a former champion in Tevin Farmer, but don't do it like this. Not after you duck Shakur.
And not while Tevin's coming off of 3 consecutive losses.
Upstairs at welterweight, the continued fallout of Friday's Times Square show, Turkey apparently told Ryan Garcia to throw punches in between rounds, according to Rolly Romero. Turkey went to him in his corner and said, "What are you doing? Throw some punches." Rolly Romero told the Denza Project, where he made an appearance yesterday.
And he talked about a lot of things. He talked about the Ryan Garcia fight on Friday that Turkey was urging him on. And he's well within his rights to do so, because I know he paid Ryan Garcia a fortune to participate on that show for that paltry performance.
Well, not just participate, he was in the main event.
While so many are still trying to downplay the role of Osterin in the Devin Haney fight, the proof is right before you. It's right before your eyes. The difference in Ryan from the time he fought Devin till he fought Rolly. He was a different guy.
Not just in terms of how he fought, but how he conducted himself ahead of the fight. He wasn't a madman. He wasn't behaving like a maniac, likely a side effect of the pads he was using.
There were noticeable differences to Ryan's physique. That he actually looked more muscular at 143 for Devin than he looked at 146 for Rolly, even though he came in 3 pounds heavier.
And people are still trying to defend this guy.
And how he fought. It would seem that he couldn't pull the trigger with Rolly Romero, but he was sharp as anything with Devin Haney.
I think that Turkey LL Sheik should quit while he's ahead and sever ties to both Ryan and Devin. That card was intended to be the big build-up for what was their rematch. Now you don't need to do it. It doesn't need to happen.
The boxing community at large is coming down hard on the both of those guys, but Ryan especially, since he's the one who popped hot for Osterin, and now it's that much more obvious that he was doping, though some still have sympathy for him. Veteran boxing scribe Marcos Villegas said, "I see a lot of people criticizing Ryan for crying after his loss. You guys are assholes. Boxers are passionate people. They put literally everything into camps and performances. Anyone is going to get emotional, win or lose. Other athletes in other sports get emotional also. Shit. Look at the last year he's had. Compound everything he went through, then things don't work out for you putting in so much hard work in camp."
Ryan Garcia is the opposite of hard work, Marcos. He didn't achieve notoriety because of anyone that he fought or anyone that he beat. He got it through Instagram.
This is the guy who didn't bother to make the contracted weight for the Haney fight. What do you mean, hard work? This is not the poster child for hard work. These statements from Marcos are lacking a lot of context because they're not just coming down on him for crying. They're coming down on him for everything that happened last year till this one.
Missing the weight, doping, and all of those awful things he said on the spaces on Twitter. Marcos, did you forget?
The racist tirade and talking about digging up George Floyd so that he could unalive him again. Who do you honestly expect to have sympathy for this character?
Are you serious?
You say that he had a rough year. What, because he's got baggage? Every man, woman, and his dog has baggage and things they have to deal with day to day. That's not a get-out-of-jail-free card to dodge your comeuppance. He's not experiencing anything now that Devin Haney didn't experience most of last year. It's just nobody likes their own medicine.
But nobody deserves it more than Ryan.
If Devin Haney was fair game for losing a fight to a guy who later tested positive for a banned substance, how could Ryan not be fair game now? Rolly didn't fail any tests. To my knowledge, he didn't.
Rolly won fair and square, unlike Ryan.
You don't have that excuse. You don't have that to fall back on. And of all the guys on the card, they gave you not just the easiest fight, but the main event slot. And this was all you could do without your Osterin, without your Bane Venom. So he'll get no sympathy from me. He doesn't deserve it.
What are you, joking?
It was always going to end this way for Ryan, because he's not a good fighter.
He's a pretender, not a contender.
Caleb, what'd you think of Ryan over the weekend? I know you guys have your past, and you've talked about the sport needing to be clean, and there was speculation how he looked with the clean test, not testing positive like last year. Just what'd you think of all that?
God don't like ugly. God don't like ugly.
Thanks, guys.
Me, I've been trying to push for getting on the undercard of Canelo Crawford.
There it is.
September 12th.
Come on, you I ain't gotta ask you nothing else. God damn it, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, so
I'm good.
I definitely would love that against.
He can go after
Ennis,
you. I'm
Ennis
good.
Boots. Definitely would love that. I know that that'll be a big challenge and a big step up. And you know me, I definitely would love to take that risk.
Who's 3 fighters you want in that co-main? Obviously, we said Boots. 2 others you got?
Boots. If I can't get Boots, I don't know, man. See if I get somebody at 47.
Mm-hmm.
You know, clean up. It's up in the air right now till then. But I'm probably gonna go back to the gym tomorrow. Just get right back to it. You know, stay healthy and just focus on seeing what I probably need. I think I have like iron deficiency since the Cambosis fight. So I got to work on. So I got on like this regimen with Dr. Sebi, and so I'm working on that at the moment. I'm gonna start taking a lot more iron, and think maybe that's what is causing me from having these bruisings, and on top of that, just like me not reacting better on my rehydration after the fight. But I think I'm just gonna focus on that, and then see what Turkey and everyone else wants to do as far as like with the fights.
Teofimo Lopez says that he wants to fight Jaron Ennis, a proposition that I've often questioned here on the channel, though what is unquestionable is that he had the best performance of anyone on the Times Square show, proving me wrong in the process. I don't have the best track record when it comes to this fighter, when it comes to Teofimo. I just find it difficult to trust him.
Consistently being inconsistent is why.
When you're struggling with a domestic, club-level Canadian fighter in Steve Claggett, it makes it difficult for me to trust you ahead of an Arnold Barboza fight.
But he held up his end of the bargain. He did his job. And now he says he wants Jaron Ennis. So I won't bog the conversation down with any bold presuppositions doubting Teofimo. All I can say is that if he wants it, then give it to him.
Jaron Ennis maintains that he wishes to unify the welterweight division and become its next undisputed champion. The problem is, none of the other belt holders are available. Brian Norman is traveling to Japan for his next fight to face Jin Sasaki. Mario Barrios is supposed to be facing Manny Pacquiao this summer. The other 2 champions are not available at this time, where you could fight Teofimo as soon as September if you want it. And comparatively, a fight with Teofimo would be a fight with a bigger name than any of those guys, even though he's not a champion, even though he doesn't have a belt at welterweight.
It's a fight with more of a profile.
The one issue I see is that as a result of becoming WBA champion in his last fight by beating a Montestanionis, he effectively adopted Shakram Gayasov as his mandatory challenger, and he has to face him, otherwise the black and gold belt is forfeit. So for a fighter who seeks to become an undisputed champion, you can't do that if you're surrendering titles.
He has to make a choice. What's more important?
Continuing on the path to undisputed, if he can even secure it, or prioritizing a high-profile fight with a Teofimo Lopez, who is now working with Turki El El Sheikh.
Boots has a segue to work with Turkey through Matchroom.
I only wonder if this is a fight that Turkey is willing to pay for, but he might be. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, Boots is a more dangerous fight, I think, than any fight that Teofimo has had so far. I mean, it's certainly more dangerous than an Arnold Barboza fight. At the most, what I thought was Arnold would outbox him, but I never thought that Arnold could knock him out. He's not a knockout merchant. Boots is a naturally bigger man with even more height, even more length, and even more power, more mean streak.
More than Arnold. He proved me wrong in beating Arnold Barboza, and credit to him. But Arnold Barboza is not a carbon copy of Jaron Ennis. So I turn the question over to you. Do you guys like T.O.'s chances against Boots?
When he says that he wants to fight him on the undercard of Canelo versus Crawford, do you believe it's genuine? Do you believe him?
And if they fight, do you like Teofimo's chances?
What would you rather see? Would you rather see Boots continue on this path to undisputed, or would you prefer to see him face Teofimo Lopez instead? Because it would seem that he can't have both.
Fight Teofimo instead of Shakram, you lose the black and gold belt.
Yet another scenario that I think is worth mentioning is Teofimo Lopez versus Rolly Romero, that if for any reason Teo can't get Boots in the ring, what about Rolly? You just boxed on the same card, you're on the same schedule, you say that you want to go to welterweight, Rolly's already there, and he has a secondary version of a WBA title that could, theoretically, get you Boots.
Boots is the full WBA champion.
So what if Boots takes care of Shakram Gayasov, you take care of Rolly, then you two settle up with each other?
What if?
I know they're friends, and I understand all of that. When Teofimo Lopez was asked who else he'd be willing to face, he didn't mention Rolly, but that doesn't matter.
Too many fighters talking about I don't want to fight him because he's my friend.
A win over Rolly might do more for Teofimo's career than his past wins over Arnold Barboza and Sendor Martin, Steve Claggett, Jermaine Ortiz. Rolly, for whatever reason, has more of a profile than they do.
And I don't all of a sudden believe that Rolly, because he beat Ryan, is this great fighter. No, Ryan was never great.
Beating him is not some monumental achievement for Rolly Romero. All that really proved is Rolly is at least better than Ryan. Now, Teo could do a lot better by proving that he's better than Rolly. Re-establish order around here, because people are starting to think that Rolly is a good fighter.
Fight him, beat him.
Re-establish order. You say you want Boots. If you don't have a direct path to him, you can go through Rolly.
Winner versus winner.